Hey guys, and welcome to the FitPro Social with me, David Kyle.
And me, Ash Burley. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night from wherever you are in the world. And welcome to this week's episode of the FitPro Social. We've got some lovely background music there as well, which is amazing. It's been a while. It has been a while. I think pretty much all of January we haven't really been here. Both been gallivanting as you do. Dave's been actually technically do some work stuff as well. You've been away for what, 5 weeks? You went away for, so pretty much most of January.
Yeah, I was away in the Philippines, wasn't I, for the first 5 weeks of January, which was good fun. Although it's now freezing cold in the UK, and it makes me does make me think, like, why do I even live in the UK when it's so cold?
Yeah, I always get that all the time. As Dave was off in the Philippines, I was over in the Caribbean, and it was nice. I mean, not nowhere near as hot as what the Philippines would have been, like nowhere near. But still, you come back and you think, hang on a minute, it's snowing, it's cold, it's freezing. It's not the one. And stupid me came back at 3 o'clock in the morning in shorts, and it was like -4 outside, and I've been in like 28, 29, 30 degree heat before then. So it wasn't the smartest move to make. But anyway, we are back now. We're both back in the UK. We're back on the podcasts. We've got loads of stuff planned for you for this year as well. Hoping to do a lot more with this. And again, if you're watching this, please make sure you do get involved, join in the conversation, let us know your thoughts. Because at the end of the day, the FitPro Social is about you guys. It's about getting social and just chatting about all the different topics that we think need talking about in the FitPro world. So yeah, make sure you do get involved. And if you do want to come and join us on any of these podcasts and share any of your thoughts, just reach out to myself or Dave. I'm sure you can find us on loads of different social media channels. Yeah, get in touch and we'll get you on and have a chat. So let's talk about what we're here to talk about today. Which you might be thinking at the title is like, well, unexpected business truths. And this kind of came up because both me and Dave have a coaching program, and we work with different people doing different kind of things. And one of the things that came up is the expectations of what business is actually like. And I think within the fitness industry, or especially like the kind of fitness business industry, there's the expectations are wrong. I think people go into it expecting something very different. I think they expect business to be maybe easy in what it is, maybe require less work. And I think this happens when PTs maybe move into having their own studios and things like that. When PTs qualify, I think that happens as well. And then buy their own studios, I think there's a change there again. And then I think it especially happens, at least where I notice it, when people move online, they have these certain expectations. I think it'd be really interesting to talk about some of those expectations at those different levels, from becoming a PT to maybe looking at starting your own studio, to then maybe looking at going online, and maybe talk about why maybe me and Dave think those expectations are there, and maybe share some of the realities about what it's like actually running a business for the long term. And that's kind of thing I want to dig in today. So yeah, I mean, Dave, have you got any thoughts on like that in general as a principle? Like, do you think there's a disconnect between what the reality is and what people expect when they first start a business?
I think because the fitness industry is such an easy industry to get into, this is where a lot of us maybe expect it to be what's advertised as. Like, obviously when you do your PT course and they say you're going to be hitting 30-40k straight away once you become a PT, and because it's so easy to get into, you pay your 600 quid, you do this online course, you're suddenly then a qualified PT and you're expecting to hit that money quickly. Like, it's just not going to happen. Whereas if you say, you know what, I want to launch a bus travel company, that isn't easy to get into. First of all, you need to find 100, maybe £200,000 to buy a coach or a bus. And that's one bus. And then you can only service a certain amount of people during the 24-hour period. And then you have to start getting staff. And then if you need a second bus to expand, you need to grow more and grow more and grow more from there. Whereas a studio, you could walk down to an estate agent today, negotiate a 3-month or 6-month free rent period, jump on one of these equipment companies' websites and get interest-free 12 months finance. And before you know it, then it might have cost you £2,000 or £3,000 to open a studio where you then don't have to pay rent for 6 months and then you just pay monthly for the equipment. Like, it's so easy to get started in the fitness industry. And I think because sometimes it is so easy to get started, maybe the expectation that it's going to be easy all the way through is something that really does hit us hard when tough months do come. And if you've been doing this for a long time, you'll definitely know the year always follows a similar pattern. Like, it always follows a similar pattern. For most of you watching this, February has probably been a pretty terrible month, but don't worry, March and April are going to be really good months. And then it's just a common trend. But yeah, let's go on that trend first, because that's something we literally just talked about before starting. What's the trend that you see?
So from our perspective, from our business perspective, we see very similar things. So for us, January is actually a little bit quieter, because we've predominantly focused on online. So a lot of the work that we've done for our members and clients is normally done before then. So from our business perspective, we have quite a first half of January, and then towards the end of January, it gets busier again, and we get quite busy. And then February quiets down quite a lot, actually. And that's probably because it's in line with what's happening in the industry as a whole. And then when we get to kind of March and April, when, funnily enough, most PTs, trainers, and studios start to make more income, we end up making more income as well at the same time. So we generally start to see these kind of peaks and troughs throughout the year. And they're pretty much the same every year. They haven't really changed. Even like 5 years ago, the general pattern is the same as what it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, as what it is today from our perspective. There's not really much in it. And it does tend to kind of do this throughout the year. I think sometimes from a business perspective, as a business owner, you look at that and you go, well, actually, I know this is going to happen. You make predictions.
Yeah.
That's why you'll hear me going about it, Dave going about how cash flow is so important. Like, it really is one of the key things you keep an eye on in the business, because you don't work. I think this is something that's worth talking about as well on this subject, is you don't work like to get paid per month. Like, you're not employed. Like, your business is you're not. You basically look at it and go, right, this month I might earn this amount of money and do well. Next month I know it's going to be a little bit less. So how can I capitalize on that? Is there ways I can make revenue from that? Or do I know that this is what the market's doing? So I make sure the cash that I've earned on this particular month or these particular period of time can then support us during that time. And I can go and invest in actually improving things in the business. And weirdly enough, if you actually look at the cruise industry, you think during when the pandemic happened, like, people couldn't cruise at all. But the bigger companies that had cash reserves and understood cash flow and had that managed, they invested. So during the time where they couldn't do anything, they invested. They took advantage of that downtime to build their business. And some of them, like some of the bigger companies like Royal Caribbean, have come out the other side booming, absolutely booming, because they invested at the right times. And that is like an extreme example of how you can utilize these peaks and troughs. But to do that, you need to approach things like a business owner. And I think that is where the issue tends to lie with, I think, personal trainers, studio owners, because I don't think many personal trainers go into the personal training industry as a business owner. It's not like that, bus company. You go into a bus company, you're like, I'm going as a business owner. You have probably have entrepreneurial skills or inspirations and things like that. I would hazard a guess, and let me know in the comments, like, if you listen to this, like, did you become a personal trainer because you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Did you become a personal trainer because you wanted to start your own business? Or did you become a personal trainer because you wanted to be a PT and be in the gym? It'd be interesting to hear, because I would guess 90% of the comments would be, no, I just want to train people in the gym. I want to help people in the gym. I didn't have no intention of running a business.
I think, like, if we go back in the day, and let's go like back in the 90s, and maybe like the 80s, obviously we weren't born in the 80s, but in the 90s, if you were going to get a loan from a bank, you would have to create a fully fledged business plan with your finances and predictions for the next 12 months, maybe even for the next 24 months. Like, now I could go onto Monzo probably and request a 10k loan, and they would either just say yes or no based on my credit history, not based on what I expect the business to develop into. And again, that's another big harsh one, because if it's so easy to get access to finance to be able to do these things, and you don't know finance or your numbers correctly, then it really is going to get you in big, big trouble. And like I've talked about this many times before, when we opened up in Cardiff, we thought charging £50 a month was a good price. Now then, it was about 15k a month I needed to make sure I was out of the business was turning a profit, and everything was paid for. So 15 divided by £50 a month is 300 clients. I hadn't done the maths. We could not support 300 clients. But if I had done the maths previously, I would have known I would need to charge more. That means we could have done things better. We could have delivered a better service. So much more comes into it. And it's just because, again, we're not bashing the fitness industry because we are in the fitness industry. I just think sometimes it's just too easy. Like
The barrier to entry is too low.
yeah, like Facebook ads, like or now we were literally we were just talking about AI, but we're not going to name any names. We were just talking about AI just before starting as well, and we were saying is this particular person that all he ever does now is run AI ChatGPT posts, and you can tell them by a country mile that it's a ChatGPT post, the way the emojis, the way it's structured, how everything's like that. And again, that's another thing. If you are jumping in the fitness industry now and you're just putting everything into AI, hoping that's going to change your business, then you are in for a harsh, unexpected business truth when AI is only supposed to be a supplementary tool. It's not your business growth strategy.
No, definitely not. It's not going to be able to do everything for you. It's just AI, is just that assistant. I think it's quite interesting. You talked about your journey into having that gym and studio, and you still didn't do the numbers. And I think those kind of things you can kind of learn over time. And I think because that lower barrier of entry is there, it means that you're not forced to kind of do those numbers. If you think about other businesses, if I go back to, I mean, I've talked about it a few times. My family's got a business, quite a successful manufacturing business, and I can remember. Well, I can't remember because I was young, but I've been told that when my dad first started this business up, when he had to go and do the business plan and stuff like that, he had to go and borrow like, I can't remember what it was. They needed like an extra $250,000 or something from the bank to get started. So they had to go and borrow that money. And then they also had to put up their house to make sure that would work.
Yeah.
Find the staff, and the risk that is being taken at that first inch, the barrier of entry is higher and the risk that you have to take is higher. And that forces you to do certain things. It forces you to understand certain things. It also means you go into it with normally a certain level of experience, because you probably wouldn't take that level of risk unless you had a certain level of experience and knowledge and so on, in order to think this risk is probably worth me taking. And I think that risk thing is an interesting thing to talk about as well. There's definitely some stages and steps of what I think business owners go through and need to go through in order to kind of become successful. But if we take it right back to when you first kind of started at the gym, like we talk about when somebody becomes a PT in the first place. And as I said earlier, I don't think anyone really becomes a PT because they want to be an entrepreneur. I think generally speaking, you'll see those kind of 30, 40 grand a year become a PT and 30, 40 grand a year. I'd imagine people's first instance, especially in the UK, is I'm going to go and get a job in the gym as an employed personal trainer at 30, 40,000 pounds a year. And you go and do your training, you come out of it, and then the next thing you find out, you go to the gym. Actually, no, we don't pay you. You need to either work for us for free, or you need to pay rent. And then you need to go onto the gym floor, and then you need to go and find your clients. So very quickly gone from I know how to train people to hang on, shit, like I'm not getting paid here. I'm actually having to I need to fork out some money or time in order to rent this space. And then I need to go and find the people I actually want to go and work with on the gym floor. And I think that is actually quite a big shock for a lot of trainers. I don't think many people expect that, especially during that period of time where you could pretty much become a PT in 6 weeks, because there's lots of funding and government funding that was pushed out there, wasn't there? So businesses want to make money from it. And I do think that is where the issue actually starts. Is this expectation from the very beginning is that I'm going to get a job, and then you end up not getting a job. You end up becoming a self-employed personal trainer, and you're already starting to learn new skills because you've got to go and speak to people. You've got to go and engage with people. And I think that is literally where the whole thing starts from. And I also think it's that approach that affects the next step. I think a lot of people, again, tell me if you're wrong. Like if you worked inside the gym and you're doing this for a while, and you think actually I can maybe go and get my own place. I can go, as you say, low barrier of entry. If I'm paying 500-600 quid a month rent to whatever big box gym, I could probably go and get a small loan or finance, get my own gym set up, and not pay rent for a few bits and build a business that way. But you go into it thinking you can do the same thing as what you did in that gym or studio. but the big gym, but you forget that that big gym has done half the work for you. That
Yeah.
big gym is doing all the big marketing. They're bringing effectively a pool of mainly qualified leads for you who want help in some form or another. And all you've got to really do is get up off your ass, be a nice person, and speak to them. But now, because you're on your own, you've got all this other stuff you have to do. You've got all these numbers you have to go and work out. The risk becomes higher, but the barrier of entry is so low, and the experience that you build gaining to it is not really conducive with what you're about to do. And I think that's where the expectations get from. I think that's why a lot of people go, actually, this is a hell of a lot harder than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
You don't do the numbers and the maths and things like you mentioned earlier.
But at the same time, I know I obviously didn't go and work for somebody else. Granted, I did have a other business before I became a FitPro. But I think for a lot of people, if you've never done client-facing work where you have to train people or coach people, talk to people, and all this stuff, then going and working in a pure gym or getting employed as a PT, a coach, isn't always the worst start possible, because that gives you access and insight and experience to so many different levels. Because, like Ash is saying there, if you then decide, you know what, this is really easy, I got to 60 clients really easy using this gym, I'll definitely be able to do it myself. But you haven't built the foundations that that business is built on, which is being able to generate leads confidently, being able to sell out of a different environment, being able to nurture leads, being able to deal with complaints and all these extra stuff that maybe you don't see. Those foundations are what's going to lead you to having a successful business where in the end, I'm guessing in the end of being a PT, even just a couple of months of being a PT and hanging around other PTs, you'll slowly move into the mindset of, you know what, I'd like to earn a lot of money, or I'd like to not have to work as hard, or I'd like to be able to have my own studio or have staff for me. And it's not a bad thing. It's what kind of everybody will have that desire. It's like now, obviously, it might be a little bit against what Ash kind of says for his business, but now everyone seems that go online and I will be rich. And you see lots of gyms and studio and boot camp owners like, oh, you know what? I'm doing okay in this boot camp, but I want to be rich. Let's go online, and then they like their business just collapses overnight. Yeah.
There's this weird misconception. It's interesting. Everyone tends to go for that thing. They go PT, maybe gym, boot camp, studio owner, and then into online. And a lot of people do think this online world is this, I don't know, this magic bean that's going to give them all this money and it's going to be easy. And I'm going to go online. I'm going to work 3-4 hours a week from my laptop on a beach and travel the world, and I'm going to have hundreds of clients who are going to be paying me loads of money, and I'm not going to do much about it. And it's not like that. I will honestly say to anyone thinking about this, I honestly think if you want a standalone online business, it's harder than actually having a physical business.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot harder.
So much harder. Sorry to jump in here, but Ash, like when you're trying to sell face to face, you can literally tell somebody my gym or my boot camp is on the corner of X, or it's right next to this building, or it's right next to that shopping center. And they're like, yeah, I know where that place is. That's the familiarity built there. All you're trying to do is knock down these fences or walls because the person sat talking to you have barriers. Your job is to knock those barriers down. The easiest way to knock those barriers down is finding something in common with them, something that's close and local to them. When you go online, and I'm here in Cardiff, and I'm talking to this random person stood in his house in Mansfield, and he knows nothing about me, and I'm trying to convince him to give me £1,000 for 12 weeks, and I know nothing about Mansfield. He knows nothing about Cardiff. I've never met him before. He's only saw my advert or read a couple of my emails. It's going to be extremely hard for me to get £1,000 off this guy. And that's why face to face, like you can smell, touch, shape. Yeah. Like it's so much easier selling face to face than it is online.
Oh yeah, hell of a lot easier. And there's different skills, and the basic principles are the same, but you have to apply those principles in an online environment. I think that's where a lot of people get it a little bit wrong. If you apply those basic principles, it takes longer to sell things online. You have to do more stuff in advance before you even get on the calls done for the most part. And yes, you can obviously be very successful online. You can do. The majority of people do decent incomes from it. You know, the most people will earn enough money to have a decent mortgage, to have a good pension, to travel a few times a year. Like, it's a business at the end of the day. And it's like the majority of businesses, like that's what it will do. You can also have it so it supplements some of your in-person stuff as well. It just depends on the type of business model you want. But I think you're exactly spot on where people have this expectation. And I honestly think, and I'm not going to say any names or anything here, but I honestly think a lot of this expectation comes from some of the marketing that this booming business mentorships and coaches tends to have within the industry. Let me try and give you an example. So everyone here, most people listening to this will be in the fitness industry with PTs or whatever. I'm pretty sure everyone here has seen the ads that pop up, say lose 20 pounds in 30 days or 20K in 30 days or something ridiculous like that. These kind of fad diet, fad promises that you get all the time. And you'll see these ads pop up for potential, you know, they could be your clients eventually. And you see them come up and then people click on these ads. They go, oh, I really want to go and do this. They'll click on the ads and they'll go through this program. Some of them might get a result from it. Some of them won't. And then most of them end up in a worse position than what they were in the first place because they've had this kind of fad diet thing. A lot of PTs listen to this and coaches will say like, yeah, I hate those things. But they're good at attracting people in, definitely. But here's the problem. Let's say you're throwing a lot of money at these kind of ads and this kind of marketing for this kind of program where you've got like 20K, lose 20K in 30 days. And 100 people might see that ad. Out of that 100 people, 5 people might click it. And out of the 5 people, 3 people might sign up. And out of the 3 people that sign up, 1 person might get results and then continue working on with them after to do what they need to do in order to get sustainability. And then the 2 of them will probably leave after think I didn't really get the results I wanted, or it was harder than what I thought it was going to be. Because at the end of the day, yes, you can hustle and lose 20K, just don't eat. Like you can do it. But that's the problem. So the expectation now in the market is that 100 people have seen that that's the expectation. And if you do that for long enough, the expectation is for the majority of people, I'm sure you've seen this with your clients, like I want to lose X amount of money, I want to lose 20K in this stupid amount of time. Like I'm sure many people, I'm sure you've done it, Dave, where you spoke to people and they have these crazy expectations of like how much weight they want to lose in the silly amount of time. And you have to manage those expectations. And that's because the market has told them that. Now in the fitness business mentoring industry for the online world anyway, we see a lot of these earn 10K a month, earn 20K a month, do 10K in 30 days. We see exactly the same kind of marketing happening to attract you through the door. Again, 100 people see it. 5 people might click the ads. 3 people might sign up. 1 person might go for that program and then carry on working with them to build something sustainable, but 2 of them might not. So the same thing's happening. The expectation is now changing because the expectation is if I don't earn 10 grand a month, I'm not successful as an online trainer. But that's ridiculous. Like the overheads can be so low for an online trainer if you want them to be. So like you don't have to make a huge amount of income in order to have a lot of profit. But again, that comes down to understanding business again, understanding the differences between profits and turnover and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's a lot where the issue lies, this expectation of if I don't do this, I'm a failure. Or when I go into this, I should be able to do this. I should be able to sit on my beach or travel around the world 3 hours a week and earn 10K a month, 20K a month, whatever it is. And I should be able to do that straight away. I should be able to do that within 30 days. And I honestly think that's one of the biggest issues we tend to face at the moment for what we do in our business when we're speaking to people. And I just think, even yesterday, I had a call with somebody who's signing up to our incubator program. And I said to him, like, because I could really do some quick fixes. I'm not about quick fixes. I was like, you've tried all these quick fixes for in the past and they've left you in the shit. So I'm not about quick fixes. I'm here about long-term sustainable business. If that's what you want, that's fine. Then come work with us. If that's not what you want and you want a quick fix, there's other places you can go to. And I think that is a bit of a barrier, a bit of an issue that seems to be appearing at the moment.
Yeah, it's unique. Yeah, there's so many. I think we could write a huge list of things that we wish we knew before we started being self-employed. Really, most of us became self-employed to not have to work for somebody else, to have a better understanding of our time, to earn more money, to kind of do more things that we want to do, and all that's great. But there is foundations that need to be set in place. There is always going to be boxes that need to be ticked. And let's just take Elon Musk, for example. Like, he isn't just the world's richest man for launching SpaceX, he is still, when those rockets launch, he is still in there doing bits himself. Even with Tesla, he's still having to go over reports and everything to make sure he's happy with that. There's so much that goes into running a business. So if your thought of becoming a business owner was to be able to have the easy life and have something run for you, then that's totally fine. But that is going to cost you a lot of money to get in place. Like if I wanted FitPro Regen to work completely without me, I would have to pay somebody my equivalent in salary to do this job for me. But then still again, I would still need KPIs and reports from that person to be filled in once a week, so I knew that person was keeping it on track. Yeah, and it's taken me 7 years to get to this point. Yeah, things like this don't just happen overnight. So yeah, foundations is always going to be one of the big things that you need to get in place. Finances, numbers, lead gen, sales, complaints, client nurture, client retention. Like those are the three. There's the key areas.
Yeah, I think if anything, if you're going to do anything like from this, just take a list of what Dave's got there, and just to have those things to focus on and say like, what I've actually got in place for those things. That will start making a difference. And I think it's quite interesting you said there, and this might be a good way to kind of round it because we've been chatting for a while. Is you could have those things. I think all those things you described about being an entrepreneur really is autonomy, isn't it? It's having autonomy over the things that you do, the money that you make at the time that you have. Like in essence, you can do whatever you want to do. Like you build your business around you. If you want to free your time, you can do that. But you have to take a level of risk in order to go and do it. It's going to cost you something. Like if you want to make more money, like there's no ceiling on what money you can make. You just adapt your business to go and suit. But there's risk involved in doing that. And I think risk is one of those key things that people need to learn to get comfortable with. And I guess you don't always do that. If you're kind of pushed into the fitness industry kind of through that route that we talked about there, which a lot of people are, risk isn't a normal thing. Like it's something you have to learn to get comfortable with. And I think if you're going to describe anything for anybody going into any kind of business, I would generally say that one of the first things you need to do is accept the fact you're going to have to work hard at the start. Like once you work hard, you have to work harder for longer than what you think as well. So work hard and work a lot longer for what you think. And then you're probably going to have to give away a lot more than what you think as well. So you're going to have to give away time. You're going to have to give away resources. You're going to have to really offer things to people to try and build up trust with them, especially if you're going online. You've got to build that trust first. But generally speaking, you probably give away more than what you want to. And then I think after that, the next thing you need to look at is risk. Because once you've done those things, you build those foundations in place. Like Dave said, like it takes 7 years to get to the point where you built all those foundations. I know how hard Dave works. I know how long he's been doing it for. And I know how much he gives away to try and get to where he wants to be. And he's taken risk, and he can take more and more risk. And eventually, once you've done that, just like Dave said there, he could take a bigger risk, pay out more cash, and employ someone to go and do those certain jobs. And I think that's where things really start to change for business owners. The more risk you get comfortable taking, the probably less work you'll end up doing eventually. Like a really good example of that is my dad at the moment. Like he goes into work a couple of times. He doesn't really want to retire because most entrepreneurs don't seem to want to retire these days, but he goes in a couple of times a week, doesn't really do much in there. He just keeps an eye on figures and keeps an eye on numbers because he's built a team, he's employed people, he's trained people, he's got procedures, he's done everything over the past 3 decades to make all that work. And he's taken more risk to bring on more people and put more money into the business. So in the position where he can step back and let it run itself and still make revenue from it, but it's more risk. And to me, you have to get comfortable. If you want to grow a business like that, you have to get comfortable with risk.
100%. So if everyone that's watching this now, think about what it is you're really struggling with. And if you're struggling to generate leads, I'm struggling to make sales, then go back a little bit further. Start peeling away those layers. If you're struggling to generate leads, what is the actual reason you're struggling to generate leads? Are you getting no inquiries on social media? Is your ads not generating leads? Are you not actually generating leads because you're not actually doing anything on social media, or you're not sending emails? We need to kind of pull everything apart and start breaking everything down. So again, if you're not making sales, then are you recording your sales? Do you follow a framework or a sales script? Are you getting too many no's? Does that mean your pricing is wrong? Again, it's always going to come down to numbers, and it's not just how much money you've got in your bank or how much you've got coming in versus how much you're going out. Numbers means all the KPIs in that process as well. So are you generating a minimum of 10 leads a week? That could be a KPI. If you're not generating 10 leads a week, then what do you need to do to generate 10 leads a week? Do I need to do 5 Instagram stories a week? Do I need to do 10 Facebook posts a week? Do I need to send out 5 emails a week? Do I need to ask for 8 referrals and do 5 reactivations? There's so many different things to it. And when you start building those layers into your business, you then can start setting tasks for staff to do those KPIs, which then means you can start to dwindle yourself out of the business, because you know those boxes are going to get ticked by staff members who then are strict, or they're focused on a specific KPI, which then means you can step away. If that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you have KPIs, as soon as you have those systems that you mentioned there, as soon as you start bringing people in to do it, you can measure something. And I think people say it all the time, what gets measured gets managed. If you can't measure these key things within your business, you've got no way of managing it. You just basically finger in the wind, guessing and hoping without these kind of numbers. So yeah, I think Dave has literally described the perfect mini business model. You could do a mini business plan, like to go and solve a problem, like just go and do that. If you go and do those things there, look at those, look at where you're struggling, break them down, and then start setting KPIs for them, start looking where those weak bits are, and then, like I say, build systems, like Dave said, build systems around it with those KPIs. Then you can start thinking of bringing people in to go and do those little things, and you can just start building a business up. So like Dave said, you can start stepping away from it if that's what you want to do, of course.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those crazy things, like, and this is obviously what we teach in the incubator, but sometimes you just don't know these things, and that's where you kind of need to peel back and think, what is those reasons? And like a lead gen, I'm struggling with leads, and you're thinking, how can I generate more inquiries and all those type of things? But then you don't think about, do I have enough Facebook reviews and Google reviews? Because if I get more of those, then people that will see my website will feel more confident and then will reach out. Do I actually have a website that is designed to generate leads, or is it just a pamphlet that's on the internet, like a poster that's on the internet that can just tells the world about what I do? If I've got loads of website clicks, why are people not actually opting in and submitting their details? Do I have enough opt-in forms? Do I have my calendar? Am I running a blog to build awareness? Like, there's so much that can go into creating a super successful, thriving business, but you just need to put those foundations in place, set the KPIs around them, get someone to do it all for you, and then you can do the 4-hour work week or whatever they call it.
Was it Tim Ferriss, is it? I think I remember that one, something along those lines. A long time ago since I read that book. Anyway, I think that's a cool place to round up. There's a nice little summary there from Dave, so I think that's a perfect place to round up today's episode. As always, if you enjoyed the episode, please do let us know in the comments. We are streaming this live, or wherever you're actually watching this from, even on the replay. Just let us know if you've enjoyed it. If you've got any thoughts, questions, whether you agree with us or disagree with us, let us know. You know, me and Dave always check out the comments, so it's always nice to hear from you. We'll be back on here next week with another episode as well, so make sure you come and check that out. We always go live on Fridays around the 11 o'clock-ish mark. So yeah, it'd be awesome to go and see you there. But I guess that's it from me.
Appreciate you all. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the FitPro Social. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.